Well, that post one-ups me, that's for sure. Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be working on a Oneup V3 dropper post. So I'm a big fan of Oneup droppers. I've had the V1, the V2, now the V3. And personally, I think they're some of the best bang for the buck dropper posts you could get out there, especially if you find them on a discount. I got this one a few weeks back with the remote for 25% off, and I am not complaining about that. This is my first V3 dropper, and I'm not entirely sure what exactly they've changed inside, but I can't imagine servicing it as any different than a V2 dropper. We will find out in this video. This will be a full service video of this post. I won't be replacing any parts. The parts are obviously new. I'm going to go through the full motions of doing a full service. Ultimately, I'm opening it up just to make sure I have enough grease in there before I put it back on the bike and start using and abusing it. All right, so with all that being said, let's get into the tools needed for the job. Just like all Oneup dropper posts, there's not that many tools needed for the job. For starters, we're going to want to remove the actuator at the bottom, 14 millimeter wrench now, or an adjustable wrench, channel lock, Nip-X, plier, anything that will allow you to remove it safely and put it back on safely, you could use, okay? Holding the actuator onto the shaft are going to be 2 bolts, I'm sure. 2 millimeter Allen in order to remove those 2 little bolts, okay? Pins, we're going to want to remove them, either a dull pick or a plastic pick in order to remove the pins, just to make sure we don't do any damage. Then we're going to clean everything, alcohol, paper towels, and then it's a question of greasing everything back up. Dealer's choice, ram butter, slickoleum, slick honey, whatever you prefer. Just put it all on there, right? Now, optional in my opinion, you technically don't need to do this, but I'll show you how to remove the cartridge. We're going to need a 5 millimeter Allen in order to get to the actual cartridge to remove it. And that's pretty much it for the tools. Let's open up this post. Once again, we're going to be fully servicing this post, but I won't be replacing any parts. We're just going to go through the motions of doing a full service to this post. I don't need to replace the part. The post is brand new. For starters, what we're going to do is these longer posts, if it's like 170 or 180 and longer, I find they're easier to assemble together again when we sink the post in a little bit, right? So sink it in about 1 inch or 2 inches before we start taking things apart. It'll just make it easier assembling the actuator and the top part of the post later on when we're done in the video and the service. All right. So next, what we're going to do is we are going to remove the cap. Now you might need a strap wrench if this is tight. You should be able to do it by hand really hard. Okay. And then we're going to grab our 14 millimeter, and this might be tight because it's brand new. One sec, and there we go. And or a plier, Nip-X, whatever you have, and we are going to unscrew our actuator. Oh wow, that actuator is significantly smaller than the V2. Okay, and then if you notice over here, we have 2 bolts that hold the actuator onto this shaft, and that's where a 2 millimeter is needed in order to remove the bolts. Well, and 2. Aren't you coming out? Can't be that much more. Did they put longer bolts in this thing or what? Now, one thing about these bolts, the threads are on the top part only, right? The rest is essentially a set screw. So, I don't know why this one's not wanting to come out. There we go. Then we're going to remove our actuator, put it on the side with the bolts. Now, inside here, inside the shaft, we have our actuating piston. Put that on the side. And then we can slowly separate the top from the bottom. All right, next let's take apart this whole area over here. Before we take off the bushings and the pins, let's wipe off all excessive grease so we don't get it everywhere, right? Again, this would be all old grease. In this case, it's new grease, but I'm going to be putting SRAM butter on it anyway. Okay, So now this bushing is definitely a lot bigger, and we have 2 of these bottom split ring bushings as opposed to 1. Oh, well, we have 6 pins. 2 of them are plastic pins, and then we have our rows on top if we want to limit the travel. That's the nice thing about Oneups. They allow you to limit the travel. So next what we're going to do is we're going to remove the split rings on the bottom, 1 split ring, and they're both identical from what it looks like. My guess is they put it there for more sturdiness and reliability. And then we're going to remove our pins. Again, a blunt or a plastic. Holy cow. These are in there. Now, one thing I want to notice, this is the back of the post, and the back of the post has 1 metal pin and the 2 Teflon pins. I'm going to replace it the same way. I don't know if that's on purpose. I doubt it, but wow, look how stiff that thing is in there. Jeez. 1. Wow. These pins definitely do not want to come out easy, guys. Look at that. That is totally unexpected. I might need a sharper edge. Use a blunt tool. This one's just a stronger tool than that plastic one. Yep, that definitely helps. So again, these are a little bit tight in their spots. 4, 5, and the last one, 6. Come on. Come on. And 6. All right. So then we take off our top bushing, and then we take off our wiper. All right. Again, if your stuff was worn out, these would be the parts you would be replacing. Okay, so next up, let's go into cleaning everything. Clean, we're going to grab paper towel and alcohol. Let's start off with the post itself. Spray it down with alcohol. Get inside all the grooves. Make sure they're all clean. Okay. Again, we're just going through the motions over here. Then I would clean the inside of the wiper. If you want to clean the wiper, right, make sure you get the inside curved area in here real well if you're going to keep your wiper, if you're not going to replace it. Okay. If you're going to keep your bushing, again, just clean your bushings best you can. These, again, they're already clean. I'm just wiping off all the oil. All right. So then if you're going to keep your pins, make sure your pins are all clean. Careful with these plastic pins. And then make sure this guy's clean, because grease, we do apply grease at the bottom. And then make sure the actuator is clean at the bottom. And also make sure the actuator is clean at the hinge, right? There's a hinge over here on the inside. I don't have to worry about it, but dirt can eventually collect in here in some way or form. So make sure that's clean so it actuates easily. Next, let's clean the inside of this. To clean the inside of the main post body, we're going to need paper towels, and I forgot to mention in the tool section, a dowel in order to push it through, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take alcohol. Again, this would be dirty. We're going to spray alcohol inside, fill it up. Goal is to break up oil over here, right? So just take it, shake it back and forth. We just want to break up the oil. Okay, so I don't make too much of a mess. And then what we're going to do is take a paper towel, stuff it down there. Oops, my camera, my frame. Okay, bunch it up real good. Try and make as many corners as possible, because the goal here is not to clean the inside of the tube, but to clean inside all those guides where the pins go up and down, right? So we will do that again. Grab a paper towel, bunch it up, try and make as many corners as possible. Okay, stick it in there, try and make it tight, and then push it down. And keep on doing that. See, now it's real clean in there, super clean. So, yeah, look at all the grease I just took out. So again, repeat that step until all those guides are clean. And then we want to make sure that we clean our threads, right? So we got threads at the top over here. And then we also have the threads at the bottom. We want to make sure those are totally clean to get a real nice bite with the actuator onto the post and with the collar. And also make sure to clean, if you keep your collar, to clean your collar threads. I guarantee you dirt will get in here. We definitely want a nice bite, so make sure your threads in the collar are nice and clean, okay? So with all that being clean, we are ready to assemble. Actually, before we assemble, let's take out the cartridge. To remove the cartridge, first we're gonna have to remove most of the seat mount, okay? So we're gonna take a 5mm Allen, remove at least one of these bolts in order to get half of it out of the way. Now this, I want to see what they did over here because this is absolutely different. Okay. Put that on the side. Well, the whole thing came out, but it doesn't matter. Okay. So we have a 5mm bolt over here. And it says, wow, look at that. So that's another big change right off the bat. No more air fill. This is a permanent cartridge, and you can't do anything about it outside of replace the cartridge. Not the end of the world, I guess. I'm not sure what they're selling this one for, actually, but that is the actual cartridge itself that goes on the inside. So if you ever have a need to replace it, you can buy them, and you can easily, I got to give them credit for that, they made it real easy. Put it in, new one, and essentially hold it down from what I could tell and screw it clockwise, righty tighty, yep, and it comes up, and then screw it down, I would say hard, fist tight. All right, and that is our cartridge. And then when it comes time to putting this guy in, the arrows go towards the front of the bike, right? So you have two arrows over here. If you notice, this is on an angle. The front is the lower part of the angle. Put the arrow towards the front. Put this guy over there. Slip this guy in. Why is it not slipping in? There we go. Come on. Why is it not slipping in? Oh, because it's probably not. Come on. There we go. And then put the nut on top. Right? So this is a nut underneath the collar. It's like all in one. Sink this guy in, hold him down, then put the screw underneath. I'm sure most of you guys know how to do this anyway. And that takes care of that. So that's how you would change the cartridge on this new post. I don't know if I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm not sure what they filled them up with. I'm a big fan of like real fast pressures or high pressures. Like I always fill mine 300 PSI because the old ones, they used to give you a limit between 250 and 300, and I like them faster than slower. So I have no idea how fast this is going to be. I guess I'll find out, right? But I'm not sure if that's a good change or not. I will say that that was a real small cartridge. There's no questions asked about that. And now we put it all back together. So first we're going to start off with our collar. All right. We're going to take our spring. We're going to put it on. You only have to do this. You don't have to, but it makes it a little bit easier on a brand new wiper to actually put it back on. All right. But before we put the wiper on, we're going to take grease, and a good amount of grease, and we are going to fill the concave area of the wiper, right? Just like that. So again, it's concave on the inside. Just fill it. Make it nice and flat, full of grease in there. Good enough. All right. So then I'm going to take this guy, angle him in, and pop him up. Any excess grease down here, just take him and wipe him on here. Then we're going to take some grease. We're going to put it all over the post for now. All right. We're going to grab our top bushing. I'm going to put grease on the inside. Now, it's got a step. The step goes up. Just like that. All right. Then before we put our bottom bushings, make sure we got a good amount of grease on their seats, just like that. Okay. put some grease on the inside of the bushings. Take them. That's one. The other one got more than enough grease on her hands. Take them, and that is 2. Now for the pins, we're going to start off with our bottom pins. Those are absolute musts. The top pins are optional if you want to lessen the amount of drop. Right? So for instance, a 180, let's say if I could only go to 175, I could drop it down to 170 max drop, right? So now, if you remember correctly with the pins, we had the back of our post, and the back of the post had a metal pin on the guide. So we're going to take it, I'm going to put it there. Then on each side of that metal pin, we had a plastic pin. Slippery stuff. 1 plastic, 2 plastic. Then we had the remainder of our pins. 1, 2, and 3. No, 3. There. Now squish them in there good. Make sure they're in there real good, right? Okay. So then we have our post. Now, there's threads on both sides of the post. The part that says 1 is the top side. So before we put the post on, considering, I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be enough grease, considering how many pin guides there are and how deep this goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some grease, and I'm going to basically rub it into the guides, just like that, right? So I'm not putting it, I don't care to put it on the wall. I want it in the actual guides in here in order to help the pins push grease down the entire guide, because that's a lot of, well, it's a lot of guide. And 6 pins is a lot of pins, right? So now make sure we wipe off any excess grease from the threads. Okay. So again, we had the back of our post. The back of our post had a metal pin with 2 plastic pins. So now we have the back of our outer post, one up components. That's the back of the post, where it says just 1 is the front of the post, right? So we're going to take this guy, and we're going to try and line up the back to this back pin, basically. Now hold your pins best you can. Put this guy in here. You might have to jiggle him in there. All right. There we go. Nope, I thought I had him. Do I have him? Did one pop out? One must have popped out. No, it didn't. Wonder why he got stuck. Okay. It's just a little bit slippery. All right, well, come on, get in there. Why is it not going in? What's stopping you from going in? There we go. That wasn't aligned. You have to be aligned. All right, now before we sink them in, what we're going to do, grease is our friend. I'm going to put a little bit of grease here. All right, on this bushing on the outside. Once again, we're going to wipe off any grease, excess grease from the threads. We're going to take this guy, we're going to sink him in. We're going to screw him on. Then, if there's any excess grease on the wiper, wipe it off. Take our ring and put it back on. All the way around, we check. Pick this guy up. Okay. Grab our actuating piston. There's a flat part and a round part. Flat part goes in. Round part sticks out. We're going to take a little bit of grease, just a little bit, put it on the round part, because that's what's going to touch our actuator. So our actuator has holes. The top holes are threaded. Make sure this part of the actuator is facing you up. Oops. All right, just like that, sinking in all the way. Don't need him anymore. Grab our screws and our 2mm. Screw them in there. Don't over tighten them. Basically, finger tight. Make them nice and snug. Same thing goes with this one. Oops. Butterfingers. Make sure he's snug, just like that. Don't over tighten them. Then sink him down. Screw this guy in. And then you could grab your 14 millimeter or your plier, or in my case, wrench. Just give them a quick tighten. Don't overdo it here. No need to overdo it. That's good enough. Then we clean all the excess grease from the outside. Clean it good. All right. And now we test them. And now to test them, we are going to grab the actuator and press down on it while putting force, right? So first, we had already sunk them a bit, so that's a good sign. Then we're going to press the actuator, push them down, boom, boom. So what you can do is actuate them up and down all the way a few times just to get the grease distributed inside the guides, and also to squeeze out some excess grease right now. And there we go. So here's going to be some excess grease. Let's get rid of this right now since we have the opportunity. And there you go, folks. You just finished fully servicing a Oneup V3 dropper post. Super easy job, just like the V1 and the V2. There's no reason why you shouldn't stay on top of keeping a fresh coat of grease inside this thing. And to do so, you don't always have to take apart the post, right? You could leave it on the bike, take the collar, loosen it, lift it up, actuate the post a whole bunch of times up and down with the remote. Any exposed old grease you wipe off, apply fresh grease on it, take the collar, bring it back down, tie it all up again, and you are good to go for a whole bunch of more hours. Now, I will say that dropper posts do fail. When they fail big. So I highly recommend that you open your posts every 100 hours or so to make sure there's nothing funky going on the inside, especially if you have a reverb access. There are certain parts that aren't replaceable, so the sooner you deal with an issue, the better off you are. Also to note, for the first few rides, excess grease will come out of the wiper over here. Make sure to wipe it all down in order for too much dirt not to collect on the wiper and make its job harder than it needs to be, okay? So, if you liked the video, please click the like button. Subscribe to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to be reminded when new videos get released, and many more videos are coming. And until then, I hope all is well with everyone, and we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Thanks.